Taman walked through the long metal hallway. His black boots made small clicking sounds on the smooth floor. The walls around him were covered with strange symbols that glowed with soft blue light. He had been walking for 10 minutes, but the hallway seemed to go on forever. Today was the most important day in human history. Taman knew this. Everyone on Earth knew this. The entire galaxy was watching. He stopped in front of a massive door that was as tall as 3 men. The door was made of some kind of crystal that changed colors when he looked at it. Red, blue, green, purple. It was beautiful and scary at the same time. Heejin stood next to him. She was holding a small device that would translate everything the alien said. Her hands were shaking a little, but her face looked calm. "Are you ready?" she asked him in Korean. Taman nodded. As ready as anyone can be for something like this. The crystal door opened without making any sound. Inside was the biggest room Taman had ever seen. The ceiling was so high that he could not see the top. Hundreds of aliens sat in floating chairs that moved around the room like slow dancers. Some aliens looked like giant insects with too many eyes. Others were tall and thin like walking trees. There were aliens that glowed in the dark and aliens that seemed to be made of living metal. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had no arms at all, just floating around with their minds. In the center of the room was a small platform where Taman was supposed to stand. Around the platform, 12 different alien species sat in a circle. These were the leaders of the Galactic Confederation. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Taman walked to the platform. Every step felt heavy. He could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching him. Some aliens made strange sounds that might have been talking. Others were completely silent. When he reached the platform, a voice filled the entire room. It did not come from any alien's mouth. It came from everywhere at once, like the room itself was talking. "Human Representative Taman," the voice said. "You stand before the Galactic Confederation Council. Today we will decide the fate of your species." Heejin pressed a button on her device. Now she could hear what the aliens were saying and translate it for Taman. One of the aliens floated forward. It looked like a living crystal that was as tall as a house. When it moved, it made a sound like wind chimes. This was the speaker for the Veltar Empire, one of the oldest alien civilizations in the galaxy. "Humans," the crystal alien said. "Your species has been in space for only 200 years. In that short time, you have caused more problems than most species cause in 10,000 years." The crystal alien waved one of its arms, and a huge picture appeared in the air above them. It showed human ships flying between different star systems. There were thousands of them. "You spread too fast," the crystal alien continued. "You build colonies on planets that other species want. You ask too many questions. You explore places that should be left alone. You make weapons that are too dangerous. You refuse to follow galactic law." More pictures appeared in the air. They showed human soldiers fighting, human scientists working on strange machines, human colonies on distant worlds. "Most concerning of all," the crystal alien said, "you have developed faster than light travel technology that we do not understand. This technology could be used to destroy entire star systems." An insect-like alien with 6 arms stood up. Its voice sounded like grinding metal. "The Confederation has tried to work with humans. We offered you trade agreements. We offered you membership in our alliance. We offered you protection. But humans always want more. You never accept the deals we offer." Heejin whispered the translation to Taman. He listened carefully, but his face did not change. Another alien spoke. This one looked like a floating jellyfish made of light. "Humans are dangerous because they do not think like other species. When most species reach the stars, they become peaceful. They learn that cooperation is better than conflict. But humans still act like they are fighting for survival on their home planet." The crystal alien raised its arm again, and new pictures appeared. These pictures showed a massive fleet of alien warships. There were so many ships that they blocked out the stars behind them. 50,000 warships from 12 different species now surround your home system, the crystal alien said. "This is more military power than has ever been gathered in one place in galactic history. No species has ever faced such overwhelming force." The room became very quiet. Even the aliens who had been making noise stopped. "We give you one choice, human Taman," the crystal alien said. "Your species must surrender all faster-than-light technology to the Confederation. You must accept permanent oversight of all human activities in space. You must recall all human colonies to your home system. You must submit to galactic authority in all matters." The insect alien added, If you refuse, the fleet will destroy every human world. Your species will be removed from the galaxy. This is not a negotiation. This is our final decision. Taemin stood on the platform and looked around the room. Hundreds of alien eyes stared back at him. Some aliens looked curious. Others looked bored, as if this was just routine business. A few looked sad, as if they felt sorry for what was about to happen to humanity. Hyejin finished translating and looked at Taemin. Her face was pale. She knew what the aliens had just demanded. She knew that no species in galactic history had ever refused such an ultimatum. Taemin took a deep breath. He thought about Earth. He thought about the billions of humans who were waiting to hear what happened in this room. He thought about human children who would never see the stars if he agreed to the alien demands. Then he thought about human history. Humans had always been told to surrender by those who thought they were stronger. Sometimes humans did surrender, but the times when humans refused to give up were the times that changed everything. "I have heard your offer," Taemin said. His voice was calm and clear. "I will give you our answer." The room became even quieter. Some aliens leaned forward in their floating chairs. "We decline," Taemin said. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody made a sound. It was as if the entire galaxy had stopped breathing. Then the room exploded with noise. Aliens started making sounds that Hyejin's device could not translate. Some sounded angry. Others sounded confused. A few sounded scared. The crystal alien's voice cut through all the noise. "Did you say you decline?" "Yes," Taemin said. "Humans refuse your demands. You understand that you face 50,000 warships?" The insect alien asked. "We understand," Taemin said. "You understand that no species has ever survived after refusing the Confederation?" The jellyfish alien asked. "We understand that too," Taemin said. The crystal alien moved closer to the platform. "Then you choose extinction for your entire species?" Taemin looked up at the massive crystal being. "No, we choose to remain free, and we suggest that you reconsider your position." The room erupted again. This time the noise was louder. Some aliens were standing up. Others were floating around in agitated circles. "Reconsider our position?" the crystal alien asked. "You are one species facing 12. You have a few thousand ships facing 50,000. What could possibly make us reconsider?" Taemin smiled for the first time since entering the room. "You will find out." He turned and walked toward the crystal door. Hyejin followed him, her device still clutched in her shaking hands. Behind them, the aliens continued to make noise. No species in galactic history had ever simply said no to the Confederation and walked away. They did not know what to do. As Taemin reached the door, he turned back one more time. "One more thing," he said. "When you attack our worlds, remember that you chose this. We offered you the chance to leave us alone. You refused. What happens next is your responsibility, not ours." The crystal door closed behind them with a soft whisper. In the great chamber, hundreds of aliens sat in stunned silence. For the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Confederation did not know what would happen next. The galaxy was about to learn what humans meant when they said no. Admiral Dong-hyun stood in the command center on Luna Base, looking at the biggest screen he had ever seen. The screen showed space around Earth, and it was full of alien ships. So many ships that they looked like a cloud of metal insects surrounding his home planet. "How many?" he asked his aide. 50,000 and counting, sir," the young officer replied. "More ships arrive every hour," Dong-hyun nodded. He had expected this. For the past month, since Taemin's meeting with the aliens, every human in space had been preparing for war. Not because they wanted to fight, but because they knew the aliens would never accept being told no. Captain So-young's voice came through the communication system. "Admiral, we're ready to launch. The first fleet is in position." Dong-hyun looked at another screen that showed human ships gathering near Mars. There were only 3,000 human vessels, and most of them looked old and rough compared to the sleek alien warships. But Dong-hyun knew something the aliens did not know. "Launch when ready, Captain," he said. Far away on the alien command ship, Marshal Klixeth watched the human ships move toward them. Klixeth was an insect-like creature with 6 arms and compound eyes that could see in every direction at once. He had been fighting wars for 300 years, and he had never lost a battle. "Look at them," Klixeth said to his officers. "Their ships are so primitive. This will be over in minutes." The alien fleet was arranged in perfect formation, thousands of ships in precise rows, each one exactly the right distance from the others. Their weapons were charged and ready. Their shields were at full power. Everything was exactly as it should be according to 10,000 years of galactic military doctrine. The human ships did not form neat rows. They spread out in all directions like seeds scattered by the wind. Some flew high above the alien fleet. Others dove low beneath them. A few even flew backward away from the battle. "What are they doing?" asked one of Clixth's officers. "This is not how space battles are fought." Clixth was wondering the same thing. In every war he had ever seen, both sides formed lines and shot at each other until one side's shields failed. But the humans seemed to be flying in random directions. On her ship, Captain So-Young smiled as she watched her fleet spread out. She remembered the words of Jinwoo, Earth's best military thinker. When you cannot match their technology, you must break their rules. The aliens had better weapons, better shields, and better armor, but they also had better discipline. They followed the same tactics their species had used for thousands of years, and that was going to be their downfall. "All ships," So-Young said into her communicator, "remember the plan? We are not trying to win a fair fight. We are trying to survive an unfair one. Begin Operation Chaos." The first part of the plan was simple. Instead of attacking the alien ships directly, the humans attacked the space around them. Human ships launched thousands of small rockets filled with metal fragments. These rockets exploded between the alien vessels, filling space with debris. The aliens' perfect formation began to break apart as ships had to dodge flying chunks of metal. Their sensors, designed to track enemy vessels, became confused by all the floating debris. "Clever," Clixth admitted, "but this will only delay the inevitable." He ordered his ships to fire their main weapons at the human vessels. Beams of pure energy reached across space, striking several human ships and destroying them instantly. But as the alien weapons fired, the humans revealed the second part of their plan. Instead of using energy shields like every other species in the galaxy, human ships were covered in thick metal armor. The alien energy weapons designed to overload shields were much less effective against solid metal. More importantly, the human ships that were destroyed had been unmanned. So-Young had filled them with explosives and remote controls. When the alien weapons destroyed these ships, they created massive explosions that damaged nearby alien vessels. "They're using their own ships as weapons," one of Clixth's officers said in disbelief. But the humans were just getting started. The third part of their plan was the most shocking of all. Human ships began ramming into alien vessels. In 10,000 years of galactic warfare, no species had ever deliberately crashed their ships into enemy ships. It was considered wasteful and primitive. But humans had built their ships differently. While alien vessels were full of delicate equipment and comfortable living spaces, human warships were designed to be flying weapons. So-Young watched as one of her captains, a man named Hunwoo, drove his heavy cruiser directly into the side of an alien battleship. The human ship was destroyed, but the alien ship broke in half. "All ships," So-Young called out. "If you cannot win with weapons, win with momentum. Every human ship that dies will take an alien ship with it." Clixth could not believe what he was seeing. His perfect fleet was being torn apart by humans who fought like they had nothing to lose. Worse, the humans seemed to be everywhere at once. Their scattered formation meant that alien ships were being attacked from every direction. "Fall back to defensive positions," Clixth ordered. But falling back was exactly what the humans wanted. As the alien ships tried to regroup, human vessels that had been hiding behind asteroids and debris suddenly appeared. These ships launched a new kind of weapon that the aliens had never seen before. Instead of energy beams or missiles, the humans fired chunks of rock accelerated to incredible speeds. These kinetic weapons punched through alien shields as if they were made of paper. The aliens' energy-based defenses were useless against simple rocks moving fast enough. Jinwoo had planned this carefully. While the aliens developed more and more sophisticated weapons, humans had perfected the art of throwing things very, very hard. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it was over, the alien fleet had lost over 2,000 ships. The humans had lost 800 vessels. By the mathematics of war, the aliens had won. But Clixth did not feel like a winner. "Marshal," one of his officers said, "the humans are retreating." Clixth watched the remaining human ships pull back toward Earth. They moved in the same chaotic pattern they had used during the attack, making it impossible to predict where they would go next. "Sir," another officer said, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." "Put it on the main screen," Clixith ordered. Captain So Young's face appeared on the alien command ship's display. She looked tired but not defeated. "Marshal Clixith," she said, "I hope you enjoyed our little demonstration. You destroyed 800 of our ships and killed 20,000 of our people. We destroyed 2,000 of your ships and killed probably 100,000 of your people." Clixith said nothing. "You might think this means you won," So Young continued. "But let me explain something about humans. Those 800 ships you destroyed, we built them in the last 6 months. We can build 800 more in the next 6 months. Can you replace 2,000 ships that quickly?" Clixith realized that he could not. Alien ships took years to build because they were so complex and sophisticated. "Also," So Young said, "you might have noticed that our ships are smaller and simpler than yours. That means we can build 10 human ships for every alien ship. You have better technology, but we have better production." She paused and smiled. "Oh, and one more thing. This was not our main fleet. This was just our advance guard. We wanted to see how you fight before we send our real military to meet you." The transmission ended, leaving Clixith staring at a blank screen. On Luna Base, Admiral Dong Hyun studied the battle reports. The first engagement had gone exactly as Jinwoo had predicted. The aliens were powerful but predictable. They relied on their superior technology and traditional tactics. Humans had neither superior technology nor traditional tactics, but they had something the aliens did not have: the willingness to adapt and improvise. "Send a message to all human colonies," Dong Hyun ordered. Operation Chaos was successful. Move to Phase 2. Across human space, military commanders received the signal they had been waiting for. The aliens had shown their hand. Now it was time for humans to show theirs. The galaxy was about to learn that humans did not fight wars the way other species did. When humans went to war, they did not just fight with their military. They fought with everything they had, and they were just getting started. Ga-Yun looked at the holographic map floating above her desk. Red dots showed alien fleets gathering from across the galaxy. There were so many red dots that parts of the map looked like they were bleeding. 200,000 ships, she said to herself. The entire Confederation military. Her assistant, a young man named Kyung-soo, brought her a cup of coffee. "Ma'am, we're receiving reports from our scout ships. The aliens are mobilizing everything they have. They're pulling warships from border patrols, home defense fleets, even training squadrons." Ga-eun nodded. After the first battle near Jupiter, the Galactic Confederation had decided that humans were too dangerous to be allowed to exist. They were bringing every ship they could find to finish the job quickly. "What about our preparations?" she asked. "Phase 2 is ready to begin," Kyung-soo replied. "All sleeper colonies have confirmed they're in position. Hyun-soo reports that the colonial militias are standing by." Ga-Yun smiled. The aliens thought they understood humans because they had fought one human fleet. They had no idea what they were really facing. 50 years ago, when humans first reached the stars, they had been excited to find that the galaxy was full of intelligent life. They had hoped to make friends, trade knowledge, and explore the universe together. But Jinwoo had been suspicious from the beginning. He had studied every alien species humans encountered. He had read their histories, learned their languages, and analyzed their military tactics. And he had reached a troubling conclusion. The Galactic Confederation only stayed peaceful because no one was strong enough to challenge them. "If we ever become a threat to their control," Jinwoo had warned, "they will try to destroy us. We need to be ready." So while human diplomats talked about friendship and trade, human military planners prepared for war. They had spent decades building secret bases, training hidden armies, and developing weapons that the aliens would never expect. The Confederation thought there were only a few dozen human colonies scattered across nearby star systems. They were wrong. There were hundreds of human outposts hidden throughout the galaxy, disguised as research stations, mining operations, and trading posts. Ga-Yun pressed a button on her desk. "Begin Operation Defiance," she said. Across the galaxy, humans who had been living quiet lives as scientists and miners suddenly revealed their true purpose. Wu Jin, who had been running a small research station near the Althari Empire's capital, opened a hidden weapons cache and began preparing for his mission. The Althari were one of the oldest and proudest species in the galaxy. Their empire controlled over 300 star systems, and their shipyards produced some of the finest warships ever built. They had sent 50,000 ships to join the Confederation fleet attacking Earth. What they did not know was that Wu Jin had been studying their shipyards for 20 years. He knew exactly where to hit them to cause the most damage. While the main Confederation fleet was traveling toward human space, Wu Jin and his team launched a surprise attack on the Althari industrial complex. Using small, fast ships armed with kinetic weapons, they destroyed 12 major shipyards in a single day. The Althari military leaders could not believe what they were seeing. No enemy had attacked their home systems in over 1,000 years. How is this possible? Demanded Admiral Veltar, the Althari fleet commander. All human ships are supposed to be defending Earth. But humans had never put all their ships in one place. While the Confederation gathered every vessel they had into one massive fleet, humans had spread their forces across the entire galaxy. On the other side of Confederation space, the Kuvari hegemony was suffering their own shock. Yunji, who had been working as a trader for 15 years, suddenly appeared with a fleet of disguised merchant ships and began attacking Kuvari supply convoys. The Kuvari were masters of logistics. Their empire survived by carefully managing trade routes that connected dozens of species. But Yunji had been mapping those trade routes for years, and she knew exactly which shipments to target. Within a week, shortages began appearing across Kuvari space. Planets that depended on food imports started to run low on supplies. Factories that needed rare minerals had to shut down production lines. The Kuvari economy, which had been stable for centuries, began to collapse. "Recall our ships from the Earth offensive," ordered the Kuvari High Council. "We must defend our own territory." But recalling their ships was exactly what humans wanted. Every alien vessel that returned home to deal with human raids was one less ship attacking Earth. The Zeph Collective discovered this too late. The Zeph were biomechanical beings who thought with a shared consciousness. They had believed that their hive mind would make them immune to human tricks. They were wrong. Mina had spent decades learning how the Zeph communicated with each other. When she attacked their relay stations, she did not just destroy them. She fed false information into the Zeph network. Suddenly, Zeph ships across the galaxy were receiving contradictory orders. Some were told to attack human bases that did not exist. Others were ordered to defend planets that were not under threat. The Zeph fleet, which had always moved with perfect coordination, fell into chaos. On Earth, Admiral Donghyun watched reports streaming in from across the galaxy. Red dots on his map were disappearing as alien fleets broke off their attack to deal with emergencies at home. "It's working," he said to Gaon over the communication link. "The Confederation fleet is down to 150,000 ships. They're losing vessels every day as species recall their forces. How long can we maintain this?" Gaon asked. "As long as we need to," Donghyun replied. "Our people have been preparing for this for 50 years. We have supplies hidden on thousands of worlds, weapons caches that the aliens don't know about, and enough volunteers to keep fighting for decades." But the aliens were not giving up. Marshal Klixth, now commanding the entire Confederation offensive, changed his strategy. Instead of waiting for reinforcements, he decided to attack Earth with the ships he had. Even with only 150,000 vessels, "We still outnumber the humans 50 to 1, he told his officers. "We will overwhelm them with sheer numbers." The problem was that humans were not fighting the kind of war Klixth expected. When the Confederation fleet finally reached Earth's solar system, they found it empty. No human ships, no orbital defenses, no space stations. "Where are they?" Klixth demanded. His science officer, a tentacled creature named Varkos, studied the sensor readings. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the asteroid belt." Klixth ordered his fleet to investigate. What they found there changed everything they thought they knew about human warfare. The humans had not built a few big space stations to defend Earth. They had turned the entire asteroid belt into a weapon. Thousands of asteroids had been fitted with engines and guidance systems. When the alien fleet entered the solar system, these weaponized asteroids began moving toward them. Each one was essentially a giant kinetic projectile that could destroy even the largest alien warship. "Impossible," Klixth whispered. "They've militarized an entire star system." But the humans were not finished. As the alien fleet tried to avoid the asteroid bombardment, human ships appeared from hiding places throughout the solar system. They had been concealed behind moons, inside gas giant atmospheres, and even buried in planetary surfaces. Captain So-Young, now commanding the entire human defense fleet, opened a communication channel to the alien armada. "Welcome to our home system," she said. "You wanted to see how humans fight when we're not holding back. Take a good look around you." Clixith looked at his tactical display and felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. His fleet was trapped in a maze of weaponized asteroids facing an enemy that had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. You have two choices, So Young continued. You can retreat now and tell the rest of the galaxy that humans are too dangerous to fight. Or you can stay and learn why no species has ever successfully invaded our home. For the first time in his 300-year military career, Marshal Clixith gave an order he had never thought he would give. All ships, withdraw from the system. As the alien fleet retreated, So Young broadcast a message that was heard across the galaxy. To all species of the Galactic Confederation, she said, you came to our home with the largest military force in galactic history. You expected us to surrender or die. Instead, you are running away with your tails between your legs. She paused, letting her words sink in. This is what happens when you threaten humans. We do not just defend ourselves. We make you regret attacking us in the first place. Consider this your only warning. The message ended, but its impact spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. For the first time in 10,000 years, the mighty Galactic Confederation had been forced to retreat. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans were not just another species to be conquered. They were something entirely new, and they were winning. The crystal being that served as speaker for the Veltar Empire floated in the emergency council chamber. Around it, holographic images of alien leaders from across the galaxy flickered with anger and fear. The humans have gone too far, the crystal being said. Its voice rang like broken glass. They have attacked our shipyards, destroyed our trade routes, and made fools of our military. This cannot continue. The insect-like Marshal Clixith appeared on one of the displays. His compound eyes reflected the lights of his command ship. The humans are more dangerous than we thought, he admitted. But they are still just one species. We have hundreds, then we use all of them, declared the Kavari representative. Every species in the Confederation will contribute ships to a new offensive. We will build a fleet so large that the humans cannot possibly defeat it. But the speaker had a different idea. Ships are not enough. The humans have shown they can turn our own strength against us. We need a different approach. The holographic display changed to show human colony worlds scattered across space, peaceful planets where human families lived and worked. If we cannot defeat their military, the speaker continued, we will destroy their civilians. We will burn every human world until they have nothing left to fight for. The other alien leaders grew quiet. In 10,000 years of galactic warfare, the Confederation had rarely targeted civilian populations. It was considered barbaric and unnecessary, but the humans had broken so many rules of civilized warfare that the aliens felt they had no choice. Begin the cleansing, the speaker ordered. Across the galaxy, alien fleets began moving toward human colonies. These were not the heavily defended military outposts that had caused so much trouble. These were farming worlds, research stations, and small settlements where humans had built new lives among the stars. The first target was New Sol, a colony world on the edge of human space. It was home to 50,000 people who grew food and manufactured goods for other human settlements. Kyung-ho stood on the observation deck of the orbital defense station above New Sol. He watched alien warships drop out of hyperspace and begin forming an attack formation. There were 300 ships in the alien fleet, enough firepower to turn the planet's surface into molten glass. Sir, his aide said, we're receiving a transmission from the alien commander. Put it through, Kyung-ho ordered. The face of an alien appeared on the screen. It looked like a walking tree with too many branches and glowing yellow eyes. Human commander, the alien said, this is Admiral Zekron of the Confederation Cleansing Fleet. You have 1 hour to evacuate all civilians from this planet. After that, we will begin bombardment. Kyung-ho looked at the alien calmly. And if I refuse? Then they will die with the planet, Zekron replied. We are no longer interested in capturing human territory. We intend to remove your species from the galaxy entirely. The transmission ended. Kyung-ho's aide looked terrified. Sir, what do we do? We only have 12 defense platforms and 2 patrol ships. We cannot stop 300 alien warships. Kyung-ho smiled grimly. We do what humans always do when faced with impossible odds. We improvise. What the aliens did not know was that human colonies were not defenseless farming communities. Ever since first contact with alien species, Jin Wu had insisted that every human settlement be prepared for war. New Sol looked like a peaceful agricultural world. but beneath its surface lay a network of tunnels, bunkers, and weapon depots. The 50,000 colonists were not just farmers and factory workers. They were all trained soldiers who had been waiting for this day. When the alien bombardment began, the humans were ready. The first alien energy beams struck the planet's surface, turning farmland into smoking craters. But instead of helpless civilians running in panic, the aliens saw something unexpected. The humans shot back. Hidden weapon emplacements rose from the ground and began firing massive kinetic projectiles into space. These were not the small defense guns that most colonies used to scare away pirates. They were military-grade weapons capable of damaging capital ships. Admiral Zekron watched in shock as several of his vessels took hits from ground-based weapons. "How is this possible?" he demanded. Intelligence reports said this was a farming colony. His tactical officer, a slug-like creature with 6 eyes, studied the sensor readings. "Sir, we're detecting massive underground structures. The entire planet appears to be fortified." But that was just the beginning. As the alien fleet moved closer to the planet, they triggered the second part of the human defense plan. The space around New Sol was filled with what looked like space debris and abandoned satellites. The aliens had ignored these objects, assuming they were harmless junk. They were wrong. Every piece of debris was actually a camouflaged weapon platform. When the alien ships came within range, these hidden guns opened fire simultaneously. The alien fleet found itself caught in a crossfire between ground-based weapons and orbital gun platforms. Ships that had been confident of an easy victory suddenly found themselves fighting for survival. "All ships, withdraw to safe distance," Admiral Zekron ordered. But withdrawing was exactly what the humans wanted. As the alien fleet pulled back, they revealed the third part of the human defense strategy. Kyung-ho activated a device that had been hidden in the asteroid field at the edge of the star system. What the aliens had thought was a natural asteroid belt was actually a carefully constructed weapon known as the Extinction Protocol. Developed by the brilliant human engineer Bom Seok, the Extinction Protocol turned entire asteroids into guided missiles. These massive rocks were fitted with engines and guidance systems that could accelerate them to a significant fraction of light speed. When Kyung-ho activated the system, dozens of weaponized asteroids began accelerating toward the alien fleet. Each one carried enough kinetic energy to destroy a small moon. Admiral Zekron realized his fleet was doomed. "Emergency hyperspace jump," he shouted. Most of his ships managed to escape, but 23 alien vessels were destroyed by the asteroid bombardment. The mighty Confederation cleansing fleet had been defeated by a single farming colony, but the humans were not finished. As news of the attack spread across human space, other colonies activated their own hidden defenses. The galaxy discovered that there was no such thing as a defenseless human settlement. On Taeguk Station, a mining outpost that the aliens thought would be an easy target, Minna revealed her own surprise. The mining operation was actually a massive weapons factory that had been producing kinetic bombardment platforms for 20 years. When the alien fleet arrived, they found themselves facing not a small mining station, but a fully armed fortress that could produce new weapons faster than they could be destroyed. Worse, Minna had been busy during her years of pretending to be a miner. She had identified alien sympathizers and collaborators throughout the Confederation. When the attacks on human colonies began, she activated sleeper agents who had been living among alien populations for decades. These human agents did not attack military targets. Instead, they began systematic sabotage of alien civilian infrastructure. Power plants failed. Communication networks went down. Transportation systems stopped working. For the first time in galactic history, alien civilians began to experience the terror of war. Planets that had been safe for thousands of years suddenly found themselves without electricity, clean water, or reliable food distribution. The psychological impact was devastating. Alien species that had supported the war against humans began to demand that their governments find a peaceful solution. "We cannot fight a species that turns every civilian into a soldier and every colony into a fortress," declared the Althari Parliament. "The humans are too dangerous to destroy and too stubborn to defeat." The Kuvari High Council reached the same conclusion. "Every attack on human territory costs us more ships than we can afford to lose." Meanwhile, their agents sabotage our infrastructure and our citizens suffer. This war is becoming too expensive. Even the proud Zeph Collective began to have doubts. Their hive mind, which had always made perfect logical decisions, was being confused by human tactics that made no logical sense. On Earth, Admiral Dong-hyun studied the reports from across human space. The Confederation's attempt to terrorize human civilians had failed completely. Instead, it had revealed the true strength of human civilization. "Send a message to all Confederation leaders," he ordered. The message was brief but clear. "You wanted to see what happens when you threaten human civilians. Now you know. Every human colony is a fortress. Every human civilian is a soldier. Every attack on our people will be repaid with interest. You cannot defeat us because we are not just a military force. We are an entire civilization that refuses to surrender." The message ended with coordinates for a meeting location in neutral space. "If you want this war to end," the message continued, "you will come to these coordinates and discuss terms. But understand this. We will no longer negotiate from a position of weakness. You have seen what humans can do when we are angry. Do not make us show you what we can do when we are truly enraged." Across the galaxy, alien leaders read the message and felt something they had not experienced in thousands of years: the fear of defeat. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans were not just refusing to lose. 6 months had passed since the aliens first demanded that humans surrender. Now Taemin stood once again in the Great Council chamber, but everything had changed. The room was half empty. Where hundreds of alien representatives had once sat in floating chairs, now only a few dozen remained. Some species had been driven to near extinction by human attacks. Others had surrendered and withdrawn from the Confederation entirely. The survivors sat in frightened silence. The crystal being that served as speaker for the Veltar Empire was cracked and dim. Its once bright glow had faded to a weak flicker. When it spoke, its voice no longer rang with authority. "Human Taemin," it said quietly. "We have come to discuss terms." Taemin nodded but did not smile. Behind him stood Jae-sung, who now served as humanity's military governor for former Confederation territory. Jae-sung wore the uniform of the Human Space Command, and his presence reminded everyone in the room that humans were no longer asking for permission to exist. "Before we begin," Taemin said, "let me explain what has happened during the past 6 months." He gestured, and a holographic display appeared above the chamber. It showed a map of the galaxy with different colored regions. The Althari Empire, which once controlled 300 star systems, now controls 12. The rest of their territory is under human administration. The map showed large areas that had changed from blue to green. The Kuvari hegemony has ceased to exist as a political entity. Their trade networks have been completely disrupted, and their member species have either surrendered to human forces or declared independence. More blue areas turned green. The Zeph Collective's hive mind has been fragmented. With their communication networks destroyed, individual Zeph colonies can no longer coordinate with each other. Most have requested human protection. Even more territory changed color. The crystal being made a sound like wind chimes breaking. "We understand that you have won. What do you want from us?" Taemin looked around the nearly empty chamber. "That depends on what you mean by us. The Galactic Confederation no longer exists. What sits before me now are the representatives of a few surviving species who were smart enough to surrender before we destroyed them completely." Subin, Earth's new xenological advisor, stepped forward. She carried a data tablet that contained the new galactic order that humans had designed. "The old system is finished," Subin said. "For 10,000 years, the Confederation maintained peace by suppressing any species that became too powerful or too independent. You ruled through fear and intimidation. When that failed, you tried to commit genocide." She activated her tablet and new information appeared on the holographic display. "From this day forward, there will be no Galactic Confederation. Each species will govern their own worlds according to their own laws and customs. There will be no more forced alliances, no more demands for technological submission, and no more threats against species that refuse to obey galactic authority." The few remaining alien representatives looked confused. For thousands of years, they had lived in a galaxy where one central government controlled everything. The idea of each species being truly independent was foreign to them. "But how will disputes between species be resolved?" asked a surviving Kuvari delegate. "Who will maintain order? Who will prevent wars?" Jae-sung answered that question. "The Human Administrative Council will oversee interstellar relations. Any species that wants to maintain faster-than-light travel privileges must agree to follow basic rules. No attacking civilian populations, no enslaving other species, and no attempts to rebuild military alliances aimed at dominating the galaxy. And if a species breaks these rules, ask the crystal being, then they will discover why the Althari Empire now controls only 12 star systems instead of 300. Jae-sung replied coldly. The truth was that humans had never wanted to conquer the galaxy. They had simply wanted to be left alone to explore, trade, and build colonies in peace. But the aliens had forced them to choose between submission and domination. The aliens had chosen poorly. Tae-min activated another display that showed human ships patrolling former Confederation space. We tried to coexist with you peacefully. We offered friendship, trade, and cooperation. Your response was to demand our surrender and threaten us with extinction. He paused, letting his words sink in. So we gave you what you asked for. You wanted to see how dangerous humans could be. Now you know. Every species in this room has learned that humans do not negotiate from fear. We negotiate from choice, and when you try to remove that choice, we remove you. The crystal being flickered weakly. What happens to those of us who remain? Subin consulted her tablet. That depends on how cooperative you are. Species that work with the new system will be allowed to rebuild their civilizations under human oversight. Species that cause problems will find their star systems under direct human military occupation. We have already established human governors on 73 former Confederation worlds, Jae-sung added. These governors are there to maintain order and ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated. The surviving aliens realized they had no choice but to accept human terms. They had tried to destroy humanity and failed. Now they would have to live in a galaxy where humans made the rules. But as the months passed, most alien species discovered that human rule was surprisingly tolerant. Unlike the Confederation, which had demanded complete obedience, humans were mostly interested in preventing wars and maintaining trade routes. Species that had lived under Confederation oppression for thousands of years found themselves free to develop their own technologies, explore their own territories, and make their own decisions. The galaxy became more diverse and creative than it had been in millennia. The only species that truly suffered under human rule were those that had supported the attempted genocide. These civilizations found themselves under permanent military occupation, their governments replaced by human administrators who made sure they could never again threaten peaceful species. Years later, as galactic civilization adapted to the new order, historians would debate whether humanity's victory had been due to superior technology, better tactics, or simply luck. The truth was simpler than they imagined. Humans had won because they understood something the aliens did not, the difference between being strong and being feared. The Confederation had ruled through fear. They had maintained order by threatening to destroy anyone who challenged them. But fear only works as long as people believe you are stronger than they are. Humans had proven that the Confederation was not as strong as they pretended to be. Once that illusion was broken, the entire system collapsed. More importantly, humans had shown that they could not be intimidated. When faced with overwhelming force, they had not surrendered or tried to negotiate. They had simply fought back with everything they had. The galaxy learned that humans viewed diplomacy as a courtesy, not a necessity. When courtesy was met with threats, humans responded with violence. When violence was met with more violence, humans escalated until their enemies either surrendered or ceased to exist. In the end, the aliens discovered that humans had been telling the truth from the beginning. They really did want to be left alone, but if someone insisted on bothering them, humans would make sure that person regretted it. The crystal being that had once been speaker for the mighty Veltar Empire now served as a minor administrator on a human-controlled world. Sometimes it would look up at the stars and remember when its species had been proud and powerful, but it never forgot the lesson it had learned. When humans say no, they mean it. And when they are forced to prove it, the galaxy shudders. Peace returned to the galaxy, but it was a different kind of peace than before. It was not the peace of fear and submission that the Confederation had maintained. It was the peace of mutual respect, enforced by the knowledge that humans would not tolerate bullies. And in the deep archives of every surviving alien civilization, the story was recorded for future generations. The day the galaxy tried to force humanity to negotiate, and learned that humans negotiate only when they choose to. The galaxy had shuddered when humans refused to negotiate, but it had trembled when humans showed them what happened to those who mistook patience for weakness. The age of human dominance had begun, not because humans wanted to rule, but because everyone else had proven they could not be trusted with power, and the galaxy was better for it.